do it to the Namo Tassa. Page 2. Yoso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho. To the Blessed One, the Lord, who fully attained perfect enlightenment, Soakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo. To the teaching which he expounded so well, Supatipanno yassa bhagavato sāvaka sangho. And to the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, Tapmayang bhagavantang satamang sasankang. To these the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, Hipme hi sakare hi yatarahang aropite hi apipujayama. We render offerings outright for homage. Sadhu no pante bhagava suchira pariniputopi. It is well for us that the Blessed One, having attained liberation, Pachima Janatanukampamanasa, still had compassion for later generations. Ipme sakare dukatapanna karapute patiganhatu. May these simple offerings be accepted. Apmakangti karatang hitaya sukhaya, for our long-lasting benefit and for the happiness it gives us. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed One, Bhutang Bhagavantang Apivademi. I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. Soakato Bhagavata Dhammo. The Dhamm so completely explained by him. Dhammang namasami. I bow to the Dhamma. Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, Sanghang namami. I bow to the Sangha. Now let us pay preliminary homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened One. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened One. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened One. Bow. Good morning, everybody. Nice to be here again. So just say a little bit of Dhamma reflection, and then we'll have meditation together. The conditioned reality, also called samsara, the realm of birth, aging, death, association with the disliked, separation from the liked, is a realm which is characterized by, Lord Buddha describes, unsatisfactoriness. So that's not to say that there isn't pleasure. It's not to say that there isn't some experience of happiness, but there is constant challenges and a pervasive sense of frustration in most people's experience. And then every now and then, along comes a Buddha. Every now and then, meaning after long periods without a Buddha. And so those beings who have accumulated auspicious merits have the good fortune to meet either with the Buddha or his disciples or his teachings. And what kind of auspicious merits would make that possible? So essentially having been generous and having been ethical or virtuous, then probably for many lives, then one meets a Tathagata, or his disciples, or his teachings. And then we have to try to practice in accordance with those teachings to better our predicament within samsara and engage the gradual training that will take us beyond samsara. Samsara being conditions, and nibbana being the unconditioned. Nobody says it's easy, but at least it's a situation which is full of potential. So we have a very good potential. That is a given, and that's an important thing to consider frequently. At least our situation is one full of incredible potential. And that is everybody, because every single person has this capacity to liberate themselves. Is that a bit better? So although all of our lives are touched by an experience of frustration and challenges, at the very least, we have an extraordinary potential. So this is, as I was saying, something that we should consider frequently, because it's important to have what I would call a long-term optimistic view. So we can't see with our current capacity how long samsara is. We don't know from our own insight just how long, how many lives pass, how many ages pass between Buddhas. But one thing that as experienced meditators we all have some experience of is that our habits seem to be very deep, quite probably deeper than just this life. But it's important to consider that our situation, enlightenment potential, is part of the hardware. It's not the software. That's there all the time. And then with regards to the fact that unenlightened beings' minds are affected by greed, hatred and delusion, in a way that's the software and the viruses. We want to use some modern analogies. And then Lord Buddha is giving us the methods and the context, the wise perspective, what we can do to keep updating the software, keep cleaning out the viruses in a way that that potential can ripen, or be that which obscures the potential can be eradicated. So we have this practice of dana, sila and bhavana. Dana is a very profound practice, and these threefold trainings, they lead on, they're interlinked, they're not a separate thing. So the tendency that unenlightened beings have towards grasping, being selfish, and contracting around a sense of self that doesn't have enough and always wants more. When we train in giving, not only is that producing the merit that will help bring more fortunate circumstances in the future, it's conditioning the capacity to let go. Let go of some of our attachment, let go of some of our things. When we come to meditation, this is very important. Oftentimes we come to meditate and we have the 5 hindrances. There's that sense of not quite being able to let go of them, not being able to go beyond them. But having practiced a lot of dana helps us in training in this faculty to relinquish. Similarly with sila, our ethical training, when we decide to keep the precepts, there are all sorts of desires that will come up that we won't follow. And this is a similar capacity that it's developing in us, the ability to restrain the unwholesome and drop it from the mind. You see a desire, an unskillful desire arises, we don't follow it, then the desire ceases. Irritation arises, we don't say something angry, we don't hit somebody, we don't abuse them, and the aversion ceases. We didn't make serious karma with it, other than the mental karma. If we restrain and train our speech and our behavior. And so then, when we meditate, this begins to give us the capacity to see a hindrance as a hindrance, essential craving, irritation and aversion as irritation, aversion, and mindfully be aware of them and allow them to cease in mindful awareness. So our challenge is that there is no perfect situation to practice. Having been a monk now for 24 years, 2 days ago was the anniversary of the day I became a novice, 24 years ago, 29th of February. So I've been doing this for some time now, and in many different places. And what I can tell you is that even as a meditation monk in a good tradition, there is no such thing as the perfect place to practice. So you might know a great meditation master and you might spend periods of time in his monastery, but then you'll find the famous meditation masters' monasteries tend to be quite busy, and it's not a great place for developing samatha, for example. Or then you might have a situation where you have a lot of time to meditate, but the great master isn't there. And then you'll have another monastery where you'll get some good Vinaya training. You'll hear about suttas, but the monks might not be meditating much, and it might tend towards being quite critical. And so we don't have perfect situations. We do have some good situations, but we don't have perfect situations. So what do? Then what we have to do is we have to practice perfectly within imperfect situations. But now we have another problem. We don't actually practice perfectly. So here we have our challenges. Not perfect situations and not perfect practice. And this is where an attitude of patience becomes necessary, and humility, and of understanding that samsara is long, and that we have to be diligent about sowing causes. So given that the situations aren't perfect, and given that our efforts aren't perfect, what can we do? Well, I would like to suggest that we maintain a minimum good standard, which is good enough. And then we increase our efforts slowly and steadily over a long period of time. And then this is the wonderful thing about our predicament, is that whatever good efforts we make will bring good results. That's the way of karmic conditions. So even though your practice might not be perfect, whatever good and skillful actions you do will bring good results. And whatever efforts you make at training your mind and training in meditation, your spiritual faculties will develop. The challenge, as I was saying, is it won't develop as quickly as we would like. And so this is where we have to have some humility and some patience. At the same time, as I was talking about the long-term optimistic view, never lose sight of the fact that the result of your practice will be liberation, it will be enlightenment. Hold that in your heart and cherish that. That will be the result. And feel very confident about that. We have to be confident about Lord Buddha's enlightenment, confident about the methods, and confident about our abilities. And then confident in the results of practice. And then we do the best we can, as consistently as we can. And generally speaking, our situation gets better. Our inner situation, as the years pass, develop more mindfulness, a more wise perspective, more capacity to let go of the unwholesome. So when we maintain a consistently good standard of ethics, some daily practice, it's really important to do this actually. One does need to have a minimum standard which is quite good. And then upon that, it tends to be the retreat situations that where we actually have a possibility to experience some insight, an insight experience, or a deeper experience of samadhi, or a deeper experience of letting go. And I think this group in particular, many people have done many retreats, and that's a very good thing. But maintaining a minimum good standard, being consistent, because the way it is with the kilesa and the hindrance is we have to be kind of washing them out of the mind on a daily level, daily basis, or kind of consciously suppressing in a good way. That's not repression, that's just seeing that something's unwholesome and deciding not to act on it. Thinking in a wise and skillful way to balance unskillful thoughts, like a conscious suppression. If you can't completely let something go, but then you contain it within the parameters of ethics and virtue and our training. Because if we take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, we won't get anywhere. So I sometimes get a little bit frustrated with my Malaysian students. Have about 10 years of teaching experience now. And I see many people doing a couple of retreats a year. It's wonderful that they take the time to do the retreats. But then if I ask them how many people, because one of the things I will always say at the end of teaching a 9-day retreat is it's really important to increase your efforts on a daily basis. I'd like you not just to sit once a day, I'd like you to sit twice a day. And then of course, after teaching for 9 years, if I ask how many people actually made that commitment to increase their sitting and sit twice a day, I think it's probably about 3 or 4%, which is not a very good return on my investment. Well, recently I decided I'm not going to teach a retreat in Malaysia, I'm going to go and retreat myself. Because if the students don't practice as diligently as one might hope, then it's a good situation. Then one might get on with practicing oneself. and follow one's own wise instructions and try to better one's own situation. If you can, do some practice in the morning, and if you can, do some practice in the evening. You will find the quality of mindfulness gets better. So mindfulness is a condition, and it's one of the most important conditions that leads to the unconditioned. But because it is a condition, it needs to be willfully generated. When I say willful, that doesn't mean the ego or the self is going to be mindful. It's not coming from that space. It's just coming from making the effort to meditate. So on this subject of mindfulness, it's also good to give some thought to what is it actually. And in Western Buddhism taught in Western countries, there's a lot of emphasis on being mindful throughout the day and just being mindful, whatever activities you're doing. But then one has to be truthful about how mindful one is or isn't. So I think it's really important that we be humble enough to acknowledge that sometimes the mindfulness is fuzzy, sometimes the mindfulness is weak, sometimes we have poor mindfulness. Trying to be mindful throughout the day with mindfulness that isn't very good. It's important to be truthful about this. How do we make mindfulness better? Well, what is mindfulness even? Ajahn Menindo uses the phrases truth-discerning awareness, a quality of clarity, a quality of presence that knows the forms as forms, thoughts as thoughts, feelings as feelings, mind objects as mind objects, dhammas as dhammas. So that's what a good quality of mindfulness knows. But if there's a lot of stories, he said this, she said that, I feel disappointed, I feel this, one is mindful of a sense of self which is frustrated or complaining or trying to be mindful while you're watching a movie or these kind of things, well then one has to be truthful about how much delusion is present, how much of a sense of self is there, how much story is there. And the quality of mindfulness, if there's a big sense of self and a lot of stories, then the quality of the mindfulness isn't very good actually. And good mindfulness will know a thought is a thought, a feeling is a feeling, and be able to put these things down if there's some samadhi. And if something's unwholesome, mindfulness can know it and drop it. And if something's wholesome, mindfulness can know it and cultivate it further. In conjunction with other path factors, right thought, right intention, these things, right action, right livelihood. So we maintain a good minimum standard, and then we try to increase slowly but surely. There are some people, I have a couple of students in Pitsanalok, retired people who now meditate 4 or 5 hours a day every day. And they told their children to move out of home and not to come and live with them until they really needed help. They listen to their Dhamma talks, they do their walking meditation, they do their daily sitting, and they do their chanting. Very beautiful practitioners. So some people understand that that's the quality of effort that's required. If you really want to do something about the samsaric predicament, if you want to get liberated from it, if you want to realize the unconditioned, you have to sow some very powerful conditions. So we need to be truthful about that, and we need to be determined. We need to have realistic expectations. At the same time, be optimistic. If you do lay the conditions, you will experience the results. So I've recently been in Bodh Gaya in December and January. I was there for 5 weeks, and I normally like to meditate about 10 hours a day when I'm in Bodh Gaya, but it was a very cold winter, and when it was 4 degrees with 98% humidity, fog visibility of about 15 meters. It wasn't very conducive for meditation. The idea of we like to meditate, we have mind states above the clouds, but we don't like to meditate in the cloud. So I couldn't go out in the early morning as early as I might normally. So I was meditating about 7 or 8 hours during that time, going out at about 8 o'clock. The fog wouldn't lift until about midday, but made the effort anyway. And I got some good results in the area of body contemplation I thought I might share. And my teachers have been telling me for a couple of decades that I should do more body contemplation. And I think this is an important aspect of the Lumpur Man, Lumpur Cha lineage. What we can learn from the forest masters, what they added to contemporary Buddhism in terms of skillful means, things we can do to actively chip away and uproot at ignorance and attachment. But so I'll tell you a little bit about the experience. So mostly I was doing breath meditation and metta bhavana, my favorite practices, 7-8 hours a day. And but what I noticed was after about a month, it was becoming more difficult for the mind to become peaceful. There'd been some illness. I had a sinus infection which lasted about 10 days, and anybody who goes to Bodh Gaya more than 2 weeks tends to get a sinus or throat or chest infection in winter. And but there was a good momentum of practice. And so what was happening towards the end was the mind would become a little bit peaceful, and then some kind of lustful kilesa would come up, sexual thoughts. And this is normal. Even celibate monks experience this. If you're not an anagami, you will have some of this. And so what happened was I got a bit irritated with this kilesa, with this hindrance. And I thought, because you feel ripped off, you're practicing really, really hard, you finally get a bit of peacefulness. And Lord Buddha describes the 5 hindrances as being like bandits. They steal the peacefulness. So practicing really hard, trying to get a little bit peaceful, get a few moments of peacefulness, and up comes this lustful thought, and there goes the peacefulness. It's very frustrating. So I thought, okay, well, your teachers have told you what you need to do about this. You need to apply an antidote, contemplation, a wise reflection. And so I had my prayer beads, my mala, in my hands, and I just thought, okay, why don't you try to see the bones in the fingers as being just like another prayer bead, another kind of a rosary. Well, this is interesting because one has to learn how to do these practices in accordance with your character in a way that will work, because this word asubha, not beautiful, I'm a greed type, so you tell me something's not beautiful, I'm not interested in that. That's my latent tendency. I thought, okay, well, I'll do that later maybe. It's like, our habits are very deep. But when I thought, well, okay, why don't you just try to see the bones in your hands as being like another set of prayer beads? Well, I like my prayer beads. And so I tried to do that. And what happened was the mind started to see the bones with more and more clarity, almost like an X-ray. And from the wrist here, from the wrist there. And then all of a sudden things just shift, and it was about 45 minutes, but the mind was aware of just the bones in the wrists. And what's very interesting was that it was actually a very beautiful experience. So this is asubha gamatan, contemplating the not beautiful. But when you do it, it's a very beautiful experience. Why is it beautiful? Because there's a sense of pristine clarity and serenity and tranquility, and a lack of a deluded sense of self. There's an incredible sense of relief. And then after that, the mind is very happy to be with the breath for another hour. And then for the next few days, there's hardly any lustful thoughts. So this kilesa that had been stealing the peacefulness got pacified. Just from seeing truthfully the way it really is. bones are earth element, and then a perception of equanimity. There's nothing to lust over. And so that one experience pacified the lust, and the last 4 or 5 days I was very exhausted at that point. And I found that after that one experience there was energy, mental clarity, very little lust, and a lot of contentment and tranquility. And I'm like, oh, this is why my teachers have been telling me for 2 decades that I need to do this practice. And but what I learnt from the experience that I wanted to share was that it wasn't so much coming from a sense of willful sense of self which was determined to see the not beautiful and destroy the lustful craving. What it was coming from was a space of really making a sincere effort to incline the mind to peacefulness and seeing the way this hindrance was stealing that peacefulness and wanting to put up a fight, kind of out of self-respect or dignity, like almost like knowing the mind is better than that. It shouldn't be so. When Ajahn Mahabua talks very clearly, don't let the kilesas walk all over your mind like a doormat. Put up a fight. But the attitude wasn't angry, and it wasn't particularly willful. It was taking the momentum of a month's practice and simply placing the mindful awareness that had been generated gently, steadily, with patience, and just trying to see bones as bones. And then finally I got some results in this practice. In terms of what people can take from that is that if you really want some results that are going to affect the level of ignorance and delusion in the mind, we have to practice quite hard. And we have to get the practice to have a momentum. And then you use the momentum of that. And just kind of, in reviewing, you've got your 4 iddhipadas, and the last one is vimamsa, reviewing how you did that or how that occurred. It's simply placing the mindfulness that had been developed over a period of a month of extra effort, just simply placing that with an attitude of wanting to know the nature of bones, and just staying still with that intention until the mind sees the nature of bones as earth element. When the mind sees the nature of bones as earth element, there's probably an experience of not self. So you're not contemplating not self, but the self-view is there as a latent tendency and habit that we have. It's just always there. And when mindfulness and wisdom sees the earth element in the body as just the earth element, then that perception falls away for a period of time. And then the experience is one of great well-being and deep peace. So I'm not saying that I realize not self. I'm not saying that I had a universe exploding insight. But I am saying that in seeing more clearly earth element as the bones as earth element, and staying with that perception that the hindrance of sensual craving and sexual passion is pacified, and the perception of self can fall away for a period of time, and that great sense of tranquility and serenity can occur, and that the benefits of that can last many days. So I wanted to just share a little bit of that experience. And that kind of, for me, gave, I already have respect for the lineage elders in my tradition, great respect. But then respect for this practice and respect for their teaching, because so many of them do emphasize this. Of course, then we have the metta practice, which I think is really important. I think these practices balance one another. So one has to have a genuine sense of self-care, and one has to. Yesterday, Ajahn Visalo and I were in Delhi airport, and just getting a general sense for there wasn't much feeling of metta in the Delhi airport. And I think for people who live in big cities all over the world, it's important to recognize that there is a certain amount of hostility and lack of trust. It's not the same as a village culture where everybody knows one another and people help take care of each other's kids and things like that. So this interesting phenomena where somebody's staring at you. So if somebody stares at you in Thailand, you stare back at them and you smile, and they smile at you. It's kind of like ding, ding, ding. So these Indian people staring at me, and I stare at them and smile, but they didn't smile back. And then there's this interesting, what do I do now? Because I'm not used to that. I say, look at the ceiling, look at the floor, look at the artworks, don't look at the people. And, it's actually quite humorous. It's interesting. I'm coming from Bodh where we've been surrounded by nice Buddhists, and two people smiled at me, and I think they were Tibetans. But we need to recognize that. We need to recognize that there's a certain amount of hostility around us. And then if that's the case, then one needs to generate loving kindness for oneself and hold that in the heart space. Really wish for your own well-being. Have a healthy sense of self-care, because that's actually the appropriate attitude that's going to lead to liberation. You want to liberate yourself from the pervasive experience of unsatisfactoriness because you care. You care for yourself. You know that you can experience something better than this. You're worth more than that. It's the potential of a human being. You want to realize your potential. You want to bless that potential. You want to ripen that potential. But if it comes from a sense of metta, it's going to be more effective. You're going to have that's going to come from a healthy space. It's like if you've got a lot of hostility all around you, and then you decide to add your own hatred and aversion to greed, hatred and delusion, and decide that you're going to destroy the kilesas coming from a space of irritation, I don't think that's going to be very effective. And certainly the great masters that I know have boundless metta. And so I think that for myself, I begin every session of Anapanasati with 10 or 15 minutes of metta. That's my daily practice. And then that leads to feelings of contentment, and then the mind is more happy to be with the breath. And if you're doing that 3, 4, 5 times a day, then that attitude of establishing an attitude of metta, that becomes kind of a part of your character, and it becomes almost like the default response. You respond with metta first. And then, as I was talking about, if there is still lustful tendencies, then one has to develop that asubhagamatthana, body contemplation of the body parts as being elements, as another way of developing wisdom. But the Brahmaviharas support the well-being. And then in the sutta on the 11 benefits of metta, we all want peaceful mind states, and the Buddha clearly says those who cultivate metta, the mind becomes peaceful easily. So we have it's not just Ajahn Achalo saying this, we have Lord Buddha saying this. And we have Lord Buddha instructing the bhikkhus, when you go back from your alms round, you are to spread metta in the northern direction, eastern direction, southern direction, western direction, northeast, etc., above and below, around and everywhere. Lord Buddha's instruction to his bhikkhus to spread loving kindness to the village upon which they depend for alms. So we have Lord Buddha's instruction, we are to cultivate loving kindness. And I think something that people neglect is to make sure that there is loving kindness for oneself first. I say, Buddhists, we want to realize not self. We understand that selfishness causes suffering, so we should have metta. But if you don't have metta here, how is it going to be able to radiate outwards? So we can't skip over this step. And so you have to indulge what appears to be a little bit of vanity or a little bit of self-interest. One has to have a healthy self-interest. Then you fill this heart space, chest area, with loving kindness. And it's okay to enjoy that. You can enjoy having loving kindness for yourself. It only becomes a vain exercise if you don't move on from there. So it is important to move on from there, but that's the preliminary stage which is necessary that we all need to develop, at the very least. Then once you have some skill at filling that heart space and chest area with loving kindness, well, then you radiate it outwards towards other beings. Traditionally, one follows the training that it's towards parents and teachers, people that it's easy to feel loving kindness towards. And then you include greater numbers of neutral beings that you feel neutral towards, beings you might not know, you see, and then you finally include difficult people who've been challenging or even enemies, hostile beings, and finally all beings. But as Lord Buddha said, those who cultivate loving kindness, their minds will become peaceful easily. And if you have some peacefulness, then you can apply this steadiness, composure, collectedness towards a wise reflection, contemplation of body parts, contemplation of the body parts as elements, and not coming from a space of hating yourself, and not coming from a space of hating samsara, because that won't get good results. Has to come from a space of having faith in your potential, faith in the Buddha, faith in the Arahants, faith in the path, loving kindness for yourself, loving kindness for others, respect for your potential, love of the Dhamma, and then you have a look at those body parts. If you can see them as elements with a calm and steady collected mind, then you'll experience a dropping away of delusion and ignorance and great well-being, a sense of deep peace. And it's wonderful to know that that's when the delusion and the ignorance drops away, that it's wonderful to know that deep peace is the experience. As I was saying, it's part of the hardware. It's not the software. Software is kind of obstructing your programming, your social conditioning, your sanya, all of your memories. Those things are kind of obscuring what is at heart very good. And, so it's not an easy practice. It requires a great deal of integrity and consistency and humility. Oftentimes we feel like we're not really getting anywhere. And at the same time, you feel like you're not getting anywhere, but you have to make a sincere, diligent daily effort. That's hard, isn't it? And the way you do that is that you respect that you have a deeper potential. And you understand that if you have a good minimum standard, then when you do get your retreat opportunities, you're much more likely to experience insight or a deeper level of samadhi because you've maintained a minimum standard. So I'd like to encourage everybody with your daily, keeping your good ethical standards in your daily practice, and then doing these retreats, and then in adding some body parts contemplations, element contemplations to chip away at the delusion of the body as being a self. And after this we'll do some meditation. I think we'll start with the loving kindness. And closing the eyes and sitting with a fairly straight back. Establishing the awareness on feelings of breathing. Simply being aware of the feeling involved with in and out breathing as it comes in through the nose, down through the chest, into the abdomen, and then out from the abdomen, chest and nose. knowing those feelings. Mindfully aware of the feelings of an in-breath. Mindfully aware of the feelings of an out-breath. And then I ask you to just place your awareness in the heart area. And we can make a simple inquiry. Is there any suffering? Is there any unpleasant feelings in that area? In my own experience, all of the hindrances or whatever kilesa manifest in that area, they come with painful feelings. And that's the area that you feel them, in the heart area. And so most people, some people might be a bit numb or a bit dull, they're not quite sensitive yet in that area, but for many people there's an awareness, ouch, yep, there's some pain there. And then we respond to that with kindness, seeing that there is still some unsatisfactoriness. Then we wish ourselves well. And we can use the breath. And breathing in, you make the wish, may I be well. And breathing out, may I be happy. And it's good to give a little bit of thought to what those words mean. What would it mean to be well? What would it mean to be happy? So as Buddhist practitioners aspiring to deepen insight and experience some peacefulness, then being well would mean having less hindrances, or having more mindfulness of hindrances as hindrances, and being able to pacify them, being able to maintain a sense of well-being, contentment, a sense of balance in the mind. And so you imbue that word well, imbue that word happy with your understanding of what it would mean to be well and happy, maintaining well-being, maintaining balance, growing steadily and consistently. So breathing in, may I be well. Breathing out, may I be happy. And there's another step in the metta bhavana which is very important. It's when you come to sit on your pillow and you have a look in that heart area, and there's all of the uninspiring thoughts and uninspiring reactivity and unwholesome desires and painful grudges and all of that stuff. When cultivating metta, you have to start with allowing that to be just the way it is without judging it, because judgment is based in aversion. So oftentimes there is judgment there. You don't want it to be like that, but it is like that. And so first, having a look at the heart area and whatever's there, just allowing it to be as it is while you see it clearly for what it is, not being contentious. And contentiousness is one of the kilesas. Sometimes we have to say a few of these kind of more new agey phrases because they can be really helpful. I lovingly allow this situation to be just as it is. I accept this situation just as it is. As a first step. And breathing in, I allow this situation. I lovingly accept this situation as it is. And then seeing that there is some unwholesomeness and recognizing that one has a deeper potential. And coming from a loving space, may I be well, and may this situation improve. And breathing in, may I be well. Breathing out, may I be happy. In a way, it's like blessing yourself, blessing your situation. However bad it is, it can get better. And that's the wonderful thing about Buddhist practice. You can always start again in this present moment. And breathing in, may I be well. Breathing out, may I be happy. And so try to allow a feeling of goodwill, benevolence, and just wishing yourself well. Breathing in, may I be well. Breathing out, may I be happy. Allow a warm feeling, a feeling of metta, unconditional love, goodwill, benevolence, friendliness, allowing that to spread inwardly, filling the heart and chest area. Breathing in, may I be well, and breathing out, may I be happy. May I maintain well-being in myself. And breathing in, aware of the feelings of the in-breath and making the wish, may I be well. Breathing out, aware of the feelings of the out-breath, making the wish, may I be happy. We'll just do that for the next 5 minutes or so. Breathing in, may I be well. Breathing out, may I be happy. And sometimes, if it isn't our habit, we can have to generate a very sincere intention and just say to yourself, now come on, really mean this. I really mean this. May I really and truly be well. May I truly be happy. And try to get some good energy behind this. Recognizing that you have a potential to develop boundless loving kindness, and so that's part of our intention, but we have to get. You're not going to develop boundless loving kindness with a kind of a vague, wishy-washy, half-hearted beginning. No. I have to mean this. May I truly be well, deeply well. May I realize my potential, my incredible potential. May I be well. May I be happy. If you recognize a judgment, mindfulness, and drop it. This isn't the time for judging. There is a time for discriminating awareness. There is a time for seeing the unwholesome as unwholesome. But when it comes to the metta bhavana, that is the time to bless the situation, fill that area with love, and drop the judgments. May I be well. May I be happy. And many human beings have this experience of if other people in life haven't loved you, then there's this withholding habit. They didn't love me, so I'm going to reject myself as well. I'm not going to love myself either. This is very painful, very common, and very stubborn habit. It also wastes a lot of time, and it obscures your potential. You have to get really determined to wrestle with that No. Especially if other people don't love me, then I'm really going to take care of myself. I have to. I don't have a choice. Breathing in, may I be well. Breathing out, may I be happy. And really feel that heart center with loving kindness. And be confident in your potential. The power of this practice, praised by the Buddha and the Arahants. Someone else might have a grudge, someone else might have a angry judgment, someone else might be cynical or suspicious. It's like a gift they're coming to give you, and you can stop them at the door. I don't accept this gift, thank you very much. You can keep that. Luang Por Chah talks about sitting in the seat of the mindful awareness and being aware of the various guests that can try to come into the mind, but not letting them sit down. That which knows is in the seat, and various things that arise in the mind, they arise, stay for some time, pass away, come in the door, go out the door. So whatever angry judgments, whatever hurtful things people have said, okay, you don't need to invite them to sit there, you don't need to believe that. You can ask them to leave, or you can say, I'm not accepting that. You can keep that. Honor the potential of the situation, put the past behind you. In this present moment, may I be well, may I be happy. Fill that chest area with loving kindness. Bless this situation as the foundation for investigating not self later, but this is the foundation. Healthy self-care, healthy self-interest, establishing well-being. Breathing in, may I be well. Breathing out, may I be happy. Now it's important to include some other people. And, train in the loving kindness practice. Then starts with oneself, but then one develops it to be less contracted, more expansive. You just think of a few people in the room perhaps that it's easy to feel loving kindness towards, and then include them in your metta bhavana. You're breathing in, may I be well, you radiate loving kindness inwardly. And breathing out, include 2 or 3 other people in this room for whom it's easy for you to feel loving kindness towards. May these people also be well, may they be happy. Breathing in, may I maintain well-being in myself. And breathing out, may these people also maintain well-being in themselves. And may we all continue to grow in Dhamma. Breathing in, may I be well, happy, safe. Breathing out, may these other people, my Dhamma friends, be well, be happy, be safe. And just do that for a few minutes. And breathing in, may I be well. And breathing out, may these people, my Dhamma friends, my Kalyana Mitta, be well, be happy. And then we try to expand the attitude of loving kindness a little further. And just bring to mind all of the people in the Delhi area. Breathing in, may I be well. Breathing out, may all the people of Delhi be well, be happy, maintain well-being in themselves. And just do that for a few breaths. Recognizing that all beings aspire to be happy. Breathing in, may I be well. And breathing out, may all of the people of Delhi be well, be happy. And then coming back just to the perception of this one being, conventional being, sentient being, and before we turn to the breath meditation, breathing in, may I be well. Breathing out, may I be happy. Just making sure that there isn't any contracted, judging, withholding of goodwill in the heart before you turn to the breath meditation. Just making sure there's a good attitude, a sense of respect, a respect for the situation, respect for the potential, respect for the practices. And breathing in, may I be well. And breathing out, may I be happy. And now we turn to knowing the feelings of the breathing. So many people have trained in knowing the breathing at just the nose area. For some people it's easier to know the breath feelings in the abdomen. For some people it's the chest area. Wherever it is that you've trained, wherever it is that you can feel the feelings of the breath most clearly or most easily, most consistently. So you place your awareness there. And then try to know all of the feelings involved, the beginning of an in-breath, the middle of an in-breath, the end of an in-breath, beginning of an out-breath, the middle of an out-breath, the end of an out-breath. Just try to know the feeling as it changes moment by moment, sharpening that mindfulness. The difference between fuzzy mindfulness, weak mindfulness, poor mindfulness, and good mindfulness is if we train for periods of time in a day and being mindful of just one thing, mindful of one area, the gamatana, then mindfulness gets clearer and sharper because normally the mind is flowing out through the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, thoughts about the past, thoughts about the future, thoughts about other people, liking and not liking, etc. So when you come to do your breath meditation, you're just going to know the feelings of the breathing. What happens is the mind collects, it becomes more present in the body, in the present moment, and clarity is the result. Simply by restraining the mind from flowing out in various ways. And then the energy that the mind has settles, collects, becomes clearer, becomes sharper. And so knowing those feelings of the in-breath and out-breath, knowing them in detail, simply knowing it as it is, moment by moment, knowing the in-breath, knowing the out-breath. In the Thai forest tradition, we often use the words Buddho, syllables Buddho, in conjunction with the breathing, because it reminds us of the Buddha, awake, aware, truly mindful. And it also restrains the thinking mind in a gentle way. If you're using Buddho, then you're not thinking about lots of other things. So breathing in, if it's helpful, mental recitation, but along with the in-breath. And breathing out, the mental recitation, do, helping the mind to stay in the present. Breathing in, aware of the feelings, put. Breathing out, aware of the feelings involved in breathing, do. training the mindful awareness to know the feelings of breathing and to rest with those feelings, anapanasati. Breathing in Bhut and breathing out Do, knowing the feelings involved in an in-breath, knowing the feelings involved in an out-breath. Allowing the mind to rest within the parameters of the body, in the present moment, not thinking about the past or the future, other people, other places. If there are thoughts, then we simply know them as thoughts and try not to follow along. Thought is just a thought, not I, not mine, not self. Give the interest to the feeling of the breathing. And breathing in Bhut, breathing out Do. because I was talking a little bit about body contemplation earlier, I think I'd like to guide you in just a little bit of that practice, make some impressions in the mind with body contemplation practice, sow some seeds. If in the future this practice may prove to be very helpful. So just like you now to get a sense for your spine, the spine that's holding up the body, all those vertebrae, and is placing your awareness in that part of the body, simply knowing that area, mindfully knowing, a simple capacity to be aware, and simply aware of the spine area inside the body. And you can also visualize a little bit. If it helps you get a sense for the spine, just imagine this row of vertebrae coming up from the tailbone up to the base of the skull. Lots of little vertebrae interlocking, white color, hard, earth element. Pali word for bones is ati, and we can use the breath, and you can use the word, the Pali word, and breathing in ati, breathing out ati, but simply knowing that area, knowing the backbone, knowing it as bone. Breathing in ati, breathing out ati. Breathing in ati and breathing out ati. Mindfully aware of this area in the middle of the body. Holding up the shoulders and the head, holding the body erect. And simply considering that this is earth element. When the body dies, this will return to the earth. And breathing in ati and breathing out ati. Encourage you to place your awareness now on the skull and just place mindful awareness to know this head area, and simply acknowledging that the eyeballs are looking out from a skull and the tongue is resting within the jaw, in the skull, the brain inside a skull. So just being aware of the bone under the skin, placing mindful awareness there, and simply knowing bone as bone, not self, not I, not mine, earth element. And breathing in ati, breathing out ati. Knowing the skull, under the skin of the head, under the hair. Simply knowing its nature, earth element nature. breathing in Ati and breathing out Ati. And now coming back to the breathing, simply knowing the feelings of the breath, breathing in Bud and breathing out Do. Aware of the feelings of an in-breath, aware of the feelings of an out-breath. Can seem a bit strange to meditate upon bones. It's important to understand that the reason we are bound to the wheel of samsara is because of ignorance and delusion, craving. And craving is based upon ignorance and delusion. So what is ignorance? Ignorance is not knowing things according to their nature, conditions as they are. What is delusion? Because of not knowing things according to their nature, we misperceive them. Because we misperceive them, we grasp at them as being a self, and then there's the liking and the not liking, and birth, aging, death. And the remedy to ignorance and delusion is to begin in training knowing these things more accurately according to their nature. And so in training in seeing bones as bones, earth element as earth element in the body, if you're sincere with these kind of practices, the misperception can fall away for periods of time. You can experience what Lord Buddha calls vipassana jnana, deep insight into the true reality of these things. You can also experience tatthanga vimutti, a temporary liberation from perceiving things in terms of self, have some kind of experience of not self. And so although it seems a bit strange at first, it's good to have confidence that it's a very powerful practice and that masters of this lineage have got very good results with this practice. And breathing in Bud, breathing out Do, just going to meditate for 5 more minutes, enjoy the breath meditation, abide in the present moment, not thinking of the past or the future, other places, other people, allowing the mind to rest. So that concludes this morning's guided meditation. I think it's nice to give people an opportunity to ask questions if they would like to. And if everybody's feeling very peaceful, that's fine too.
How often do you take the instruction of meditation through your teachers?
Right. So the question is importance of the true spiritual friend, the Kalyana Mitta, or the wise mentor. And Venerable Sangha Bodhi is asking how often should one take the instruction of one's teacher. So I ordained into a context where there was a Dhamma talk a couple of times a week from my teachers. So in the Ajahn Chah lineage, one is getting constant reminders, at least in my generation. Ajahn Pasano and Ajahn Jayasaro would be giving a Dhamma talk every one pra after the Patimokkha, and usually on one other occasion. And then what would normally be the way is that if you had a doubt or a question, then you would seek them out and specifically ask a question. So I was Ajahn Pasano's attendant, so I would often be massaging his feet, or it would organically come up that there would be the opportunity to ask a question if I had a doubt. And then similarly, I was living with Ajahn Anan in my second vasa and in my 6th, 7th, 9th and 10th vasa, and that would normally come up simply because you know this person, you're putting an effort in your practice. I didn't understand Thai very well, so it would be more like when I had a doubt, I would go and ask a question. It doesn't need to be that often. It was more of a when basically you know what you're supposed to be doing, but when something comes up. I remember once I was going through a period where I was feeling a type of sadness that I didn't understand. The mind was very, very sad, but it was peaceful. And I was confused. What is this? What is this? I was wondering, is this a karmic ripening, or is this a repressed emotion? I'd never experienced it before. So it was that kind of thing. But what I noticed was, with this particular quality of sadness, the mind would become very still. So I didn't know what that was. So I went and I asked my teacher, Ajahn Anan at that time, and he said, well, actually, this is one of the types of rapture, and it's a good sign. It's kind of a samvega. And so things like that, because otherwise you'd be wondering, what is this? What is this? This isn't the correct result of practice. But a spiritual teacher who can see, oh, actually, that's a very wholesome mind state. If you continue to focus on the breath with that dispassionate spiritual sadness, the mind will be content to be very still. But if I didn't have that advice at that time, I'd be worrying about it. What is this sadness? What is this sadness? So it's kind of times like that. We have a bit of a doubt. So if one knows a teacher who has those kind of abilities, very, very helpful.
As in, you talked about body contemplation. While meditating on daily basis, morning and evening, how often should we do it? I mean, should we do it regularly, or can it be done once in a week or something like that?
Yeah, I would. How often do you meditate? Are you meditating every day?
Yeah.
Once a day or twice a day? Twice, yeah, okay. So I'd probably do it every day, because these things deepen with repetition. But it might go something like 10 or 15 minutes of metta, and then half an hour of anapanasati, and then just try to look at a part of the body with the clarity that you've generated for the last 10 or 15 minutes. Just try to see it as it is. And sometimes you need to visualize it a bit, sometimes you need to feel it a bit. And but I do think that's important. Metta first, clarifying, stabilizing the mindfulness, some collectedness, then just having a look. No contentiousness, no fighting the kilesas, just what is this really? And but I think for any practice to develop a real power, it's through repetition and familiarization. So I don't think if you really want to get insight into the nature of the body, then once a week is probably not enough. It's like a daily thing. And different people, different character types will find that the mind is interested in different parts of the body. It's able to rest with that perception more easily. So for some people it's actually muscles or blood, for example, or teeth, and for other people it's bone. So that you get that, you learn that through trying. As where is the mind content to rest, knowing which part of the body. And traditionally they start with the hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth and skin, because it's easy. You can see them very clearly. You brush your teeth, you cut your nails, it's like, you and I don't have much hair, but but we're familiar with hair. And teeth are great because they're right there, you know. And they're like these little stones. It's very easy to know the earth element nature of teeth.
When we do body scanning,
Right.
and if that also becomes part of the meditation morning, evening,
Right.
in addition to
Yeah.
the anapan
Right.
and mindfulness for some time,
Right.
and then body scanning and then this particular thing also,
Right.
contemplation for
Yeah,
some time.
I would do that after whatever you've cultivated as your main method, which gives rise to some sense of collectedness and presence of awareness. Then try to bring that presence of awareness to know a body part.
Thank you.
Okay. And I think Lord Buddha uses the word asubha, not beautiful, because we're quite committed to trying to see it as beautiful. But actually, it's not really beautiful or not beautiful. If you're really seeing it as an element, what it gives rise to is equanimity. And equanimity is not very well understood. Equanimity is profoundly peaceful. It sounds so boring, doesn't it? Because we're so committed to happiness and sadness and passions and things. But equanimity sounds boring. It sounds like indifference, but it's not indifference. It's equipoise, serenity, tranquility, stillness, not being deluded by things. A very profoundly peaceful state. So equanimity is a wonderful thing, beautiful thing.
Most of us have done retreats in Unkaji's tradition.
Right.
And we are taught that first we should concentrate on breathing, then body contemplation, and the later part should be mitta bhavana, mitta.
Right.
So your sequence is a little different.
Yes.
So we are yet to discern the differences,
Yes.
which is a better option. This is the first time we are getting exposed to this kind of sequence.
Yes, and so I can only speak from my experience, and I can speak of what my teachers taught me. And well, I'm sure Goenkaji had his understanding of what to do, how to do it, why to do it. But certainly you have the Buddha's instructions as a reference, an important reference. We are Buddhist practitioners, and Lord Buddha says one should cultivate loving kindness. And from my teacher, I remember I think modern people are possibly more neurotic than ancient people. People who made terracotta pots, people who planted rice, people who weaved baskets didn't have to deal with the news about the riots and all of the information that we hear and the hostility and the anxiety. In this day and age, about the virus in China, the riots in Delhi. You hear so much bad news constantly, and it does affect us. And so I just think to maintain well-being, modern people need loving kindness. It's not something that one would do later. That's my intuition about how to survive in the modern world. And certainly when I was a young monk, I was trying very hard and I was getting some good results, but then it would kind of be up and then down, up and down. And I discussed with my teacher, and he said, Achalo, what you need to do is the first 10 minutes of every meditation, you need to do metta. So that's Ajahn. And in my experience, very helpful. So, as the Lord Buddha said, those who cultivate loving kindness, the mind concentrates easily. So my mind is more happy to be with the breath if I've done 10 minutes of metta, and there will be less discursive thoughts. So for me, it works. Then, experiment. So I know a lot of people have done a lot of the Goenka retreats, and they've told me themselves that they, at a certain point, they feel like they're not really getting any further. So it's like, if that is the case, it's okay to try other approaches and see if there is a feeling of progressing further. How many Goenkaji retreats did you do? Vipassana retreats? How many retreats have you done?
About 8, 9.
Sorry?
8, 9.
8 or 9?
Yeah, 10 days retreat.
Very good.
One more question is there, which is coming out of this question only. Goenkaji has been impressing upon us that unless we do body contemplation and focus on sensations,
Yes.
Our deep-rooted defilement will not come out.
Yeah, so as I said, I have to speak from my experience, and I'm speaking from the lineage that I joined. So I believe that Luang Por Man was an arahant. I believe that Luang Por Chah was an arahant. I believe that Luang Por Chah has arahant disciples. And I don't know that Goenkaji is an arahant. In fact, I think he said he wasn't. So
We should keep our long-term optimism intact.
yes. Yes, so sometimes the Vajrayana teaches these things quite well. They talk about unshakable optimism, joyful effort, taking the difficulties as the path, because they have a much longer path, of course. If you want to be a Buddha, you better get your attitude right. So it's going to take a long time. But I mean, it's tenable, it's logical. That is the situation. You have a situation of incredible potential. You have a difficult practice and a difficult path, but you have incredible potential. And if we get it together to lay the conditions consistently enough, the result is going to be a liberated, purified mind that experiences unshakable peace. That is something to be optimistic about and confident about. It's a source of joy, isn't it? It's something that gives us the courage to put up a bit of a fight, is to know that there's going to be a good result at the end of it. And I find that very helpful.
The point is, unless we keep on getting human life after this death, we will not progress.
No, that's not necessarily the case. The devas can practice samatha from what I've heard. The Devas are practicing samatha, and those who have faith. So if you develop the tendency and the habit to practice this lifetime very deeply, if you become a Deva, you probably continue to have that habit. So, and I've been told that the Devas, this is one of those things, like who do you trust? But my teacher told me that when Lord Buddha taught the Dhammacakka Sutta, that many thousands of Devas became Arahants, and Anya became a Sotapanna. To me, this makes more sense. But it really depends on what you believe, but to me it makes more sense. Because if you consider this Bodhisattva has cultivated virtue for 4 asankhya and 100,000 eons, what has he taught? He's taught dana, sila and bhavana. The people that he's taught, it must number millions. And many of them are in heaven for having followed his advice. And many of them are very well aware that he's going to be a Buddha one day. And they're waiting. And so they've come to hear the teaching. Anya was the first human disciple. But apparently there were millions of Devas that were liberated in the first teaching. Well, it's one of those things that either you believe it or not. For whatever reason, I believe it. Makes more sense to me. And you think of the effort that the Bodhisattva put into that final result, then of course he would have moved huge numbers of beings to the heaven realms. The 4 asankhyas, imponderables, incalculable periods, plus 100,000 eons. The 100,000 eons is the small part at the end. An eon is the time from the Big Bang, the expansion of the universe and the burning up. That 100,000 of those, of cultivating virtue and qualities. Can you imagine how many beings he must have trained and helped? So for whatever reason, I don't have difficulty imagining Devas becoming Arahants. But one does have to have established the habit. So if one has a very sensual habit, and you're born in heaven and the sensual pleasures are even more pleasant, then it's likely that one will get distracted and absorbed in them. But if one has kept ethical precepts diligently and the 8 precepts on the one par and consistently listens to Dhamma and has developed a kind of a more refined, Lord Buddha says peacefulness is the highest pleasure. So if one has developed an appetite for peacefulness, well then one's going to be less interested in the sensual pleasure and more interested in the mental pleasure that comes from listening to Dhamma, the Dhamma vichaya, the rapture that comes from listening to Dhamma, and the peace that comes from samatha practices. I mean, in fact, my teacher isn't encouraging people to aspire for human birth anymore because things seem to be degenerating pretty badly, pretty quickly. So, but if one does aspire to be born as a Deva, then you want to have the character, you have to have the determination to be practicing as a Deva. So, either that or to be reborn in a world where there is a Buddha currently teaching, because there are other universes. So sometimes people get this idea, I'm going to determine I'm going to be born in Thailand and become a novice. And I'm like, uh-oh, you better have a look at how the novices in Thailand are behaving these days, because I think it's better to set the intention to be born where you can practice, wherever that is. And you don't need to be worried about the details. I'm just determined to keep practicing in every life. And then the details will take care of themselves. But you have to have a strong determination. It's 11 o'clock actually. So we're going to have the meal now. Should we pay respects together?
Ajahn ने हमारा ध्यान दिलाया कि हम सब एक कंडीशन रियलिटी में जीते हैं. एक संसार जो है कंडीशन रियलिटी है जिसमें जन्म जरा मृत्यु प्रिय से विछो ये इसका स्वभाव है और इस कारण से एक अनसेटिस्फैक्ट्रीनेस बनी रहती है. जो दुख है दुख का अनुभव होता रहता है.
ऐसे संसार में कभी कभी भगवान बुद्ध उत्पन्न होते हैं और उनके कारण ही इस तरह की जो दुख है उसके निदान का रास्ता मालूम पड़ता है। उन्होंने बताया कि कभी कभी का तात्पर्य है कि बहुत लंबे समय के बाद ही कोई बुद्ध उत्पन्न होता है, उसकी शिक्षा उत्पन्न होती है और फिर हमको उस शिक्षा का लाभ मिल सकता है। और कोई भी बुद्ध बनता है तो उसका पहले वो काफ़ी साधनाएं बहुत अनगिनत समय तक करते हैं, दान शील का अभ्यास और भावना का अभ्यास अनगिनत जीवनों में करते हैं। और हम लोग भी जो साधना कर रहे हैं और भगवान की शिक्षा के संपर्क में आते हैं या भगवान के सावक संघों के संपर्क में आते हैं, उनको भी इसी तरह से कई जन्मों में दानशील भावना का अभ्यास करते हैं, तभी ऐसा संयोग होता है। और ये ऐसी साधना है कि हम संसार में रहते हुए भी संसार से बाहर एक कंडीशन रियलिटी से अनकंडीशन की ओर चल सकते हैं। हालांकि हमारे जीवन में काफ़ी कठिन परिस्थितियां रहती हैं, दुख का अनुभव बहुत रहता है, लेकिन उस परिस्थिति में भी पूरा एक पॉसिबिलिटी है, एक पोटेंशियल है कि हम अपने आप को दुख से मुक्त करा सकें। हर प्राणी में ये एक क्षमता है कि वो दुख से मुक्त हो सके और भगवान की शिक्षा का ये एक मुख्य आधार है। हमको बार बार जीवन में कठिनाई आती है, परेशानी होती है, तो फिर हम कई बार हतोत्साहित हो जाते हैं। तो आजान ने बताया कि हमें एक दीर्घकालीन ऑप्टिमिस्टिक व्यू रखना चाहिए ताकि हम संभल सके, कठिनाइयों को हैंडल करने में सक्षम बने रहें और कठिनाइयों के आगे झुक ना जाएं। संसार कितना है, कितना लंबा है, कितने जीवन हम जी चुके हैं और कितने जिएंगे जानना संभव नहीं है। और ऐसी जानने की जो हमारी शिक्षा है उससे मालूम पड़ता है कि बहुत लंबे समय तक ऐसा हुआ होगा, तभी कोई आदमी बुद्ध बन सकता है, तभी कोई आदमी भगवान बुद्ध की शिक्षा के संपर्क में भी आ सकता है। तो जो इस समय की हमारी सिचुएशंस हैं और जो हमारे कैपेबिलिटीज़ हैं उनको भी हम ठीक तरह से देखेंगे तो जो निवारण है, जो हमारी साधना में ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन है, वही साधना में आगे बढ़ाने का काम करते हैं। जो हमारा मानसिक स्थिति है वो एक तरह से सॉफ्टवेयर है जिसमें कि लोभ दोष और मोह भरा हुआ है के वायरस पड़े हैं। और भगवान ने हमको सिखाया एक तरह से मॉडर्न मीडियम में कहें कि किस तरह से हम अपना दृष्टिकोण ठीक कर सकते हैं और ये जो सॉफ्टवेयर है ऐसा कहें कि उसको अपडेट कर सकते हैं, जो वायरस हैं उसको हटा सकते हैं। और ऐसा करने से हमारा जो क्षमता है वो बढ़ती चली जाती है, उत्तरोत्तर बढ़ती चली जाती है। तो साधना के जो 3 सोपान बताए जाते हैं, दान शील और भावना, उसकी ओर उन्होंने ध्यान आकर्षित किया। दान का मात्र केवल फिजिकल ध्यान का ही जो लाभ है उतने से ही सीमित नहीं है। जब हम दान करते हैं तो हमारी क्षमता होती है चीज़ों के प्रति अपरिग्रह की, चीज़ों को छोड़ने की। और उसी अभ्यास के होते हुए जब साधना में कठिनाइयाँ आती हैं तो उनको भी छोड़ने में हम सक्षम हो पाते हैं। इसी तरह शील का अभ्यास जो है वो हमारी कोई भी विषय तृष्णाएँ जागती हैं, हम उनको देखते हैं और उनको आगे बढ़ने नहीं देते। इरिटेशन भी जागती है, बेचैनी भी जागती है, तो हम उसका असर हम पे, हमारी वाणी पे, हमारे कर्म पे नहीं होने देते। तो जिस तरह से बार बार शील का अभ्यास करते हैं तो उससे भी हमको साधना में लाभ मिलता है, क्योंकि जो निवरण जागते हैं, साधना में कठिनाइयाँ आती हैं, उनको भी हम देखने में सक्षम होते हैं। जैसे कि शील के पालन के समय जो हमारे अंदर बेचैनी आती है उसको हम रोक पाते हैं, तो वो हमारी साधना में भी सहायक होती है। तो अगर हम ये सोचें कि हमारी सिचुएशन परफेक्ट नहीं है, जब परफेक्ट होगी तभी हम काम करेंगे, तो वो संभव नहीं है। तो आजान ने बताया कि वो 24 साल से भिक्षु हैं और कई बार ऐसा आदमी सोचते हैं कि हमको परफेक्ट मोनेस्ट्री कोई मिल जाए जहाँ परफेक्टली ध्यान कर सकें। उनका आज तक उन्होंने कोई ऐसा स्थान नहीं पाया। कई बार हम बहुत प्रसिद्ध भिक्षु के विहार में जाते हैं, वहाँ सोचते हैं वहाँ ध्यान करेंगे तो लाभ होगा, तो कई बार वो बिज़ी हैं, सक्षम, उनके पास समय नहीं है। वहाँ जाके पता चलता है कि जो उनकी अवेलेबिलिटी है बड़ी लिमिटेड है। कोई और जगह जाते हैं जहाँ विनय का बहुत पालन होता है, तो वहाँ पता चलता है कि विनय की चर्चा ही बहुत होती है, साधना उतनी नहीं ठीक से हो पाती। तो हम अगर परफेक्ट चीज सिचुएशन के पंजे में पड़े रहेंगे तो कभी साधना ठीक से कर नहीं पाएंगे। बस काम चलाऊ सिचुएशन हो तो भी हम साधना ठीक से कर सकते हैं। जो सिचुएशंस हैं उसके अंदर हमारी परफेक्ट ना हो, उसके साथ साथ हमारा साधना का करने का तरीका भी परफेक्ट होना चाहिए। तो वास्तव में अगर हम देखें तो हम एक इम्परफेक्ट सिचुएशन में इम्परफेक्ट तरीके से ध्यान करते हैं, और फिर भी उसके लिए बहुत आवश्यक है कि हम पेशेंस बनाए रखें, हमें एक धैर्य हो और ह्यूमिलिटी हो कि हाँ हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं और धीरे धीरे उत्तरोत्तर प्रगति होगी। हाँ, साधना का स्टैंडर्ड हमको काफ़ी अच्छा बना के रखना चाहिए कि हम काफ़ी मनोयोग से समय दें साधना के लिए। हमारी कर्मों की कंडीशंस के कारण जो भी परिस्थितियाँ आएंगी उसको लिए जो भी उचित उपयुक्त एफर्ट करने की ज़रूरत है वो हमें करना चाहिए, ताकि जो सम्यक व्यायाम की बात है कि जो कुशल चित्त की चेतनाएं हैं उनको बढ़ाएं, जो अकुशल हैं उनको हटाएं। तो इस सब में भी एक लॉन्ग टर्म ऑप्टिमिस्टिक व्यू, जैसे पहले भी बताया कि एक दीर्घकालीन एक विजन है कि हाँ सब ठीक ही होगा। क्यों? उसका विजन का आधार क्या है कि हमारा भगवान के अंदर श्रद्धा है, भगवान के बताए मार्ग में श्रद्धा है, और भगवान के बोधि में श्रद्धा है, विश्वास है कि वो सत्य है। तो फिर हमको एक दीर्घकालीन ऑप्टिमिस्टिक व्यू बना रहता है। मुख्य बात हमारा ये है कि हमारी जो सती है और जो हमारा दृष्टि है वो ठीक बनी रहे। हमारे साथ जीवन में जो शील हैं, जो शील का पालन है वो सुदृढ़ हो, शील के पालन, और हमारी रोज़मर्रा की जो दैनिक साधना है वो नित्य प्रति हो, निरंतर हो। और उसके साथ साथ फिर समय समय पे हम एक किसी शिविर में भी एक लंबे समय तक शिविर में भी जाएं। तो अगर इस तरह से साधना करेंगे, शील आदि का पालन ठीक से करेंगे, रोज़ साधना करेंगे और बीच बीच में रिट्रीट भी करेंगे, तो फिर हमारी साधना उत्तरोत्तर बढ़ती, प्रगति धर्म के मार्ग पे उत्तरोत्तर बढ़ती जाएगी। मुझे अजान बता रहे थे कि मुझे मालूम है आप लोगों में से बहुत ने काफ़ी साधनाएं की हैं, कई शिविर किए हैं, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ नित्य प्रति साधना करना भी बहुत आवश्यक है। नहीं तो वो ऐसे हो जाता है कि हम 2 कदम आगे बढ़ते हैं और 2 कदम पीछे चले जाते हैं। तो बता रहे थे कि उनके कई मलेशिया में उन्होंने कई 10 साल तक शिविर कराए हैं, और शिविर के अंदर लोगों को लाभ भी बहुत होता है, लेकिन बाद में उनसे पूछते हैं तो पता चलता है कि वो केवल 3 या 4% लोग ही अपनी दैनिक साधना को बना के रखते हैं। तो फिर उनका जितना लाभ होना चाहिए उतना नहीं हो पाता। तो अजान को लगा कि वहाँ समय लगाने से अच्छा होगा कि मैं अपने पे ही समय लगाऊँ, अपनी साधना ही पुष्ट करूँ। तो उसके लिए सुबह शाम की साधना का वो उसकी ओर हमारा ध्यान आकर्षित कर रहे थे कि वो बहुत आवश्यक है। तो सती के बारे में उन्होंने बताया कि सती क्या है उसको हमको ठीक से समझना चाहिए, क्योंकि विदेश में आजकल सती के अनेक रूप हैं। तो उन्होंने अजान मुनिंदों की बात करते हुए बताया कि सती का उद्देश्य है कि हम जो भी रूप है, जो हमारे नाम हैं, जो रूप धर्म है, नाम धर्म है, उन फीलिंग्स हैं, थॉट्स हैं, उन सबको एक समता भाव से देख पाएँ, और उसमें अपना आत्म भाव ना हो, एक जो मोह का संस्कार है वो ना हो, उसमें मैं का भाव ना हो। तो अगर हम प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि हमारे कुशल धर्म बढ़ें या कुशल वृत्तियाँ कम हो, उसके लिए भी करते समय भी ऐसा देखना चाहिए कि मैं के भाव से कर रहे हैं या प्रज्ञा के हिसाब से कर रहे हैं। तो कहते हैं कि अगर आपको सचमुच में निर्वाण की ओर बढ़ना है तो बहुत आवश्यक है कि कम से कम साधना जो है कुछ घंटे प्रतिदिन वो धीरे धीरे बढ़ा के उत्तरोत्तर बढ़ा के 4 से 5 घंटे प्रतिदिन करेंगे तो सचमुच में काफ़ी लाभ होगा। तो अपना अनुभव बता रहे थे कि वो बोधगया में अभी फिर से दोबारा आए हैं, कई बार आ चुके हैं और 5 हफ्ते वहाँ रहे हैं। 10 घंटे प्रतिदिन का उनका संकल्प था। तो अब बीच में क्योंकि बहुत ठंड थी तो सुबह बहुत जल्दी जाना संभव नहीं था, तो भी वो 7-8 घंटे प्रतिदिन साधना इतने दिनों से की है। और साधना के लिए अपनी साधना के अनुभव के लिए बता रहे थे कि वो बॉडी कंटेम्पलेशन कायानुपश्यना पे काफ़ी ध्यान दे रहे थे, क्योंकि उनको लगा कि उनके साधना करने में कुछ वासना का संस्कार जागा, तो उन्हें लगा कि हमें वो उसके ऊपर भी ध्यान देना चाहिए। तो अपने हमारी जो थाई फॉरेस्ट ट्रेडिशन है उसके लुंगपोर मुन लुंगपोर चा की बात करते हुए बताते हैं कि वो सब हमें यही सिखाते हैं कि जो भिक्षु लोग हैं वो मेत्ता का अभ्यास करें, आनापान का अभ्यास करें और कम से कम 7-8 घंटे प्रतिदिन कोशिश करें कि सजग होकर रहें। तो अपने अनुभव बता रहे थे कि वहाँ बोधगया में कुछ हफ्ते काम को ध्यान करने के बाद फिर बीमार रहे भी हो गए थे कुछ दिन, और फिर उनको जो वासना का संस्कार आया तो उनको लगा कि मुझे इसके ऊपर काम करना चाहिए। और अपने आचार्य की बात को याद करते हुए कि वो हमें बार बार कहते हैं कि कायानुपश्यना का बहुत महत्व है, तो उसके लिए जो अशुभ भावना कही जाती है, तो बता रहे थे कि उनको सामान्यतः जो अशुभ भावना जिस तरह से सिखाई जाती है वैसा उनको करना उनके स्वभाव के अनुकूल नहीं लगता। लेकिन इस बार उन्होंने देखा कि जब वो बैठे थे और हाथ की हड्डियाँ आपस में टच कर रही थी, उन्होंने कहा उसी को जैसे उनकी माला के बीड्स हैं उसी तरह से समझ के वो उंगलियों की जो हड्डियाँ उनकी ओर ध्यान किया उन्होंने और समझने का अभ्यास किया कि वो अनुभव कैसा है, और उसके ऊपर सती और सजगता से इस तरह से उन्होंने अशुभ भावना का अभ्यास किया। ऐसे अशुभ भावना करने से चित्त शांत हुआ, चित्त में बेचैनी नहीं होती, और फिर उसके साथ साथ आनापान का भी अभ्यास करते हैं तो धीरे धीरे वो वासना के संस्कार समाप्त हो गए। तो उनको फिर याद आया कि उनके जो आचार्य हैं उनको कई सालों से कह रहे हैं कि कायानुपश्यना बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, लेकिन वो भी फिर एक बार उन्हें मैं ध्यान दिलाया कि ऐसा करते हुए भी वो मैं के भाव से कि मैं करके रहूँगा उससे नहीं होना चाहिए। प्रज्ञा के आधार पे, समझ के आधार पे साधना होनी चाहिए। उन्होंने देखा कि किस तरह से वासना का संस्कार आने से मन बेचैन हो रहा था, शांति खराब हो रही थी, तो उस शांति को वापस लाने के लिए उस भाव से उस अशुभ भावना का अभ्यास किया। वो बता रहे थे अजान महाबोरा का, जैसे वो कहते हैं कि हमें अपने क्लेशों से युद्ध करना है, लेकिन वो युद्ध जो करना है वो समझ से करना है, गुस्से के भाव से अपने प्रति द्वेष का भाव पैदा करके नहीं करना चाहिए। तो वो बता रहे थे कि जो वो हाथों की हड्डियों की ओर ध्यान दे रहे थे, धीरे धीरे उनको फिर विजुअलाइज किया, फिर समझा कि वो एक पृथ्वी धातु है, और पृथ्वी धातु का अभ्यास करते करते उसमें अनात्म बोध का भी अभ्यास हुआ, अनात्म बोध का भी अनुभव हुआ, और चित्त में बहुत शांति का महसूस हुई। और वैसा करने के बाद उनको लगा कि हमारी जो परंपरा है उसके प्रति उनके मन में बहुत और श्रद्धा बढ़ी कि हाँ वो हम तो यही सिखाते हैं, ऐसे ही हमको ध्यान करना चाहिए। तो फिर मेत्ता की बात करने लगे कि मेत्ता साधन भावना जो है बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है हमें अपने वेलबींग के लिए। और अपना अनुभव बता रहे थे कि थाईलैंड में जिस तरह से भिक्षुओं के साथ व्यवहार होता है और जैसे दिल्ली में आके उनको महसूस हुआ, उन्हें लगा कि दिल्ली के अंदर मेत्ता की काफ़ी कमी थी। वो किसी और देखा उन्होंने, और तो दूसरा आदमी जो उनको घूर रहा था, जैसे उन्होंने उनकी ओर देखा तो अजान ने तो स्माइल किया, लेकिन उसने अपना ध्यान हटा लिया, तो उनको भी काफ़ी अजीब सा लगा। बट उस ख्याल आया कि शहरों में अधिकतर जो मेट्रोपॉलिटन शहर हैं वहाँ पे लोग काफ़ी तनाव में रहते हैं, परेशान रहते हैं, और ऐसी परिस्थिति में उनको लगा कि हाँ मेत्ता का अभ्यास और अधिक करने की आवश्यकता है, ताकि हमारा दूसरों के प्रति जो द्वेष का भाव है वो कम हो और अपने प्रति एक वेल बीइंग हमारी इम्प्रूव हो, हमारे मन जो है और शांत हो। तो बताते थे कि उनके अनुसार वो कहते हैं कि पहले हमको उनका सुझाव था कि मैत्ता का अभ्यास थोड़ी देर करें, फिर आनापान करें और फिर कायानुपश्ना करें, ताकि जो हमारे एक इंटीग्रेटेड प्रैक्टिस बनी रहे। मैत्ता के लाभ जो हम सबको मालूम है, भगवान ने कई बार में समझाए हैं। वो बताते थे कि हमको भी सिखाया जाता था कि जब भिक्षाटन के बाद आएँ तो सब जितने भी गृहस्थ लोग हैं उनके प्रति मैत्रा का भाव बनाए रखें। और हम जैसे सोचते हैं कि हम दूसरों के प्रति मैत्री का भाव रखेंगे, वो तभी संभव होगा जब हमारे मन में अपने प्रति मैत्री होगी। अगर हमें अपने प्रति मैत्री नहीं होगी तो फिर दूसरों को मैत्री देने की बात बहुत मुश्किल, रेडिएट करना बड़ा मुश्किल काम है। और अपने प्रति मैत्री देने का मतलब ये नहीं कि हम अपना अहंकार बढ़ा रहे हैं या अपने को बहुत अच्छा मान रहे हैं, बट अपनी चित्त की अवस्था को सुदृढ़ कर रहे हैं, उसको शांत कर रहे हैं। और वो जो सामान्य मैत्री का भाव है कि पहले हम जो हमारे प्रियजन हैं, हमारे माता पिता हैं या और आचार्य हैं, दूसरे प्रियजन हैं, उनको प्रति मैत्री का भाव करें। फिर जो हमारे न्यूट्रल लोग हैं और फिर उनके प्रति जिनके प्रति हमारा मन में कुछ द्वेष है या उनके प्रति कोई वैर है। बता रहे थे कि जैसे जैसे हम इस तरह से अभ्यास करते जाते हैं और तीनों तरह के अभ्यास करेंगे तो बॉडी पार्ट्स देखने से हमारी जो शरीर के प्रति तादाद में होता है वो कम होने लगता है, मन शांत होने लगता है, हमारी संज्ञा जो है वो भी बदलने लगती है, पन्या की ओर बदलने लगती है। तो बता रहे थे कि उनको कई लोगों ने बताया था कि कई बार साधना काफ़ी वर्षों करने के बाद भी ऐसा लगता है कि हमारी प्रैक्टिस से कोई बहुत लाभ नहीं हो रहा है, एक स्टैग्नेशन आ गया। तो उन्हें हमको उसको देखना चाहिए ठीक से कि किस तरह की कमी है, और कई बार प्रसन्नता की कमी के कारण ही ऐसा हो जाता है। तो मैत्री का करने से बहुत लाभ होगा। फिर हमने साधना की काफ़ी देर तक, थोड़ी देर तक, और उसके बाद फिर प्रश्नोत्तर का समय था। तो वेनरेबल संगबोधि ने पूछा कि कल्याण मित्र का कितना महत्व है और कितना बार हमको, कितनी फ्रीक्वेंसी हमको उनको मिलना चाहिए। तो अजान ने बताया कि हमारे ट्रेडिशन में तो जब हम शुरू के 5 सालों में जब रहते हैं तो जो आचार्य हैं वो उपलब्ध रहते हैं, और अपना अनुभव बता रहे थे कि जब वो वहाँ पे थे नाना चात में तो अजान प्रसन्न, अजान जयसारो रहते थे, और हर हफ्ते कम से कम 1 या 2 धम्मा टॉक्स होती थी, तो उससे काफ़ी लाभ मिलता था। और वो हमेशा उपलब्ध रहते थे कि कोई डाउट हो तो हम उनसे पूछ सकें। और फिर बाद में वो अजान आनंद के पास गए, वहाँ पे भी दूसरा वास, और फिर बाद में 6वां 7वां वास किया, तो उनसे भी उनको बहुत सीखने को मिला। और बीच में एक बार साधना करते करते कुछ ऐसा समय भी आया जब बहुत उदासी छा गई थी, कन्फ्यूजन हो रहा था। तो अजान ने उनको बताया कि ये भी एक आनापान करते करते ऐसा भी भाव आता है, एक अच्छी बात है, और उसको इस उदासी के माध्यम से देखते देखते आगे मन में धर्म संवेग जागेगा और जो वैराग्य का भाव है वो पुष्ट होता है। और वो बता रहे थे कि उनके उत्तर से काफ़ी प्रेरणा मिली फिर आगे काम करने की। फिर एक प्रश्न था कि ये कायानुपश्ना जो है वो कितना बार करनी चाहिए, 1 बार करें हफ्ते में या हर रोज़ करें। तो अजान ने बताया कि जो उनका सुझाव बेसिकली संक्षेप में यही था, 10-15 मिनट शुरू में मैत्री का अभ्यास करें, फिर आधा 1 घंटा आनापान करें, फिर 10-15 मिनट कायानुपश्ना करें, काया के अंगों के प्रति, और इस रोज़ करें ऐसा। तो कई भाग जैसे 5 जो बात कहे जाते हैं, केशा लोमा नच नखा तंता तचो, उस बहुत आसानी से देखे जा सकते हैं, तो उनके ऊपर भी ध्यान किया जा सकता है। तो और वो करते समय समता बनाए रखना बहुत आवश्यक है। कई बार समता से लोग ठीक से समझते नहीं हैं, उसको इंडिफरेंस समझते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है। समता का अर्थ है कि एक सेरेनिटी बनी रहे, एक शांत चित्त बना रहे। तो एक प्रश्न था कि हमको विपश्यना ट्रेडिशन में पहले आनापान सिखाया जाता था, फिर काया को संवेदना की बात होती थी और फिर बाद में थोड़ी देर मैत्री करते थे। तो अजान यहाँ पे विभिन्न है। तो अजान ने कहा हाँ मैं तो अपने अनुभव की बात कर सकता हूँ, दूसरों के बारे में नहीं कह सकता। लेकिन हमारे आजकल के संदर्भ में उनको अजान ने कहा कि हमें लगता है, हमारे आचार्य भी कहते हैं, लोग ज़्यादा तनाव में रहते हैं, मानसिक क्षोभ में रहते हैं, तो उसके लिए मैत्ता पैक्ट का अभ्यास करना, अपने प्रति अभ्यास करना बहुत लाभदायक है, ताकि चित्त शांत हो और फिर वो आगे मन के अंदर जो प्रपंच चलते हैं वो कम हो जाए। और कई बार लोग कहते हैं कि रुक जाते हैं अपनी साधना में, तब भी हमको दूसरी अप्रोच भी करनी चाहिए। फिर एक और प्रश्न था कि विपश्यना में संवेदना के प्रति बहुत ध्यान दिया जाता है और कहा जाता है कि उसी से जो है गहरी विकार निकलते हैं। तो अजान ने उत्तर दिया कि हमारे ट्रेडिशन में जैसे लुंगपुर मुन थे, लुंगपुर चा थे, वो सबको मालूम है अरहंत थे, और अभी भी कई अरहंत हैं। तो इसलिए जो उनके वजह मार्गदर्शन है, हम उसी पे चलना ठीक समझते हैं। तो एक और प्रश्न था कि अब हमें मालूम नहीं अगला जन्म क्या होगा, तो कैसे उसके लिए क्या साधना करें। तो अजान ने कहा कि ऐसा नहीं कि अगर हम देवलोक में भी उत्पन्न होते हैं तब भी साधना कर सकते हैं। ये अगर हमारे यहाँ पे इस जन्म में भी हमने ज़्यादा इंद्रिय भोग की तरफ नहीं मन किया है, तो देवलोक में भी लोग साधना करते हैं। उनको बताया कि उनके आचार्य ने उन्हें बताया था कि जब भगवान ने धम्मचक्र प्रवर्तन सूत्र दिया था, तो वहाँ मनुष्यों में से तो कुंडन्यो अन्य कुंडन्यो ही श्रोतापन्न बने थे, लेकिन उनके आचार्य का कहना है कि जो देवता थे वहाँ पे उनमें से कई लोग अरहंत हो गए थे। हाँ, ये बात और है कि अगर वहाँ देवलोक में जाने से पहले इंद्रिय भोग में बहुत कोई आदमी लगा रहता है तो वहाँ जाके काफ़ी डिस्ट्रैक्शन हो जाती है। लेकिन अगर यहाँ पे भी हम अच्छी तरह से साधना करें, इंद्रिय भोग से बचे रहें, तो वहाँ पे जाके भी अच्छी तरह साधना कर सकते हैं। मुख्य बात यही है कि हमें एक अधिष्ठान लेना चाहिए कि हम अपनी साधना को हर किसी जन्म में जहाँ भी हो, ऐसा हमारा जन्म हो जो हमारी साधना की निरंतरता बनी रहे।